Multiple records.
Yeah. So recording has started. Now I'll make you the host. Yeah. Yes, Aditi. Over to you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Welcome here.
Hello. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
it's coming. But open your PPT. आपका PPT नहीं आपका screen खुल रहा है अभी. You can see your entire laptop. Open the PPT.
Now you can see.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Make it in the yes, perfect. You can start.
So you are recording, no?
Yeah, it started. You continue.
Okay. So good evening, very good evening to all of you.
Good evening, ma'am.
I'm really privileged to be here on this platform to share my ideas about prevention of sexuality harassment with all of you. And thanks, Janaji, for inviting me. It's a great honor. So let's start now. So it's an introduction about the POSH. POSH is Prevention of Sexual Harassment. Sexual harassment of women at workplace, prevention, prohibition, and reduction Act 2013. Now, why we call it Act 2013? First, we shall see what is the purpose of the Act. The purpose of the Act, of course, as the name goes, is to provide protection against sexual harassment of women at workplace. Of course, you need a safe workplace to work in, so you wish to have every woman wish to have a safe environment at the workplace. And this POSH Act was notified by the Ministry of Women and Child Development on December 9, 2013. That's why it's called Act 2013. And there are some other guidelines and laws also which have the same, more or less the same purpose. Like there is CJAW, which is International Convention. It's Convention on Elimination of Discrimination against women in field of employment. Scope, its scope is worldwide because it's an international one. And India is also a party signatory to this convention. And then before this POSH Act came in 2013, the Supreme Court of India had issued Vishakha guidelines as a landmark judgment in Vishakha versus State of Rajasthan case 1997. So there are other few guidelines which also have the same purpose. And then government also have that she box in which any women can deposit her complaint, and it can be acted upon by the government. So a few terms are used in these acts, so we should know about them, what they mean. So to start with, what is aggrieved women? In relation to workplace, a woman of any age, whether employed or not, who alleges to have been subjected to any act of harassment by the respondent is called as aggrieved woman. Then who is respondent? Employee against whom the complaint has been filed is known as respondent. Now this is the legislative timeline of the POSH Act. So in 2007, the draft of protection of women against sexual harassment at workplace was approved by the Union Cabinet. Then in 2010, the bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha. Sorry, just a second. Sorry, I'm facing some issue. Just a second.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, but I have to start it all again. Yeah.
Sorry for the disturbance. So in 2010, the bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha, and then in 2012, the bill was amended and then reintroduced in the Lok Sabha. September 3, 2012, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Bill 2012 was passed by the Lok Sabha. So whenever any act is made, there are a number of steps which we have to follow before it becomes an act. First, it's a kind of bill, then it is approved. So this is the same timeline which I'm talking about. Then in February 26, 2013, the Sexual Harassment of Women and Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Bill 2012 was passed by Rajya Sabha. Then on April 23rd, 2013, the Prevention of Workplace Sexual Harassment Act received President's assent and was published in the Gazette of India as Act number 14 of 2013. Then finally on December 9, 2013, the Indian Ministry of Women and Child Development notified this act. So December 9, 2013 is the effective date of the Prevention of Workplace Sexual Harassment Act and the Prevention of Workplace Sexual Harassment Rules. So now, how many types of sexual harassment are there? Because we say sexual harassment, but we need to identify what comes under sexual harassment and what not. So sexual harassments can be of different types, like verbal, physical, visual, psychological, quid pro quo harassment, then hostile environment, or any act of or conduct constituting health and safety problem for females. So when we talk about the verbal type of sexual harassment, it is use of unparliamentary or abusive, threatening or insulting language, unwelcome comments, speculation or gossips about a person's private life or body parts or appearance. Then we come to physical type of harassment, and this is any unwelcome touching or assault in a sexual manner, such as actual or attempted rape or sexual assault. Then comes the third one is visual sexual harassment. So visual sexual harassment is like sexually suggestive body language, then facial expressions or gestures, blocking any person's path while she is going somewhere, then following the person, displaying sexually suggestive visuals like pornography or something, harassment through emails, SMS, or any other modes of electronic communication. Then psychological sexual harassment means that any indecent proposals and unwelcome requests for sexual favors, unwanted invitation to go out on dates, unwanted sexual teasing, remarks or questions, because it gives a kind of psychological stress on the person to whom you are doing all these things. Then other comes the quid pro quo harassment and hostile environment. This I'll discuss in my next slide. Then any act or conduct constituting health and safety problem for females is like, it's a bit different, but it's also a kind of sexual harassment only. Like if your workplaces, they are having health hazards or not providing clean environment or washrooms for female employees, etc. Now section 2N of this act says about the types of sexual harassment, and it says that physical contact and advances, request for sexual favors, sexually colored remarks on your color, then showing pornography, unwelcome physical, verbal or non-verbal contact. So there are different classification of the types of sexual harassment. First, which we saw in the previous slide, and this is according to the section 2N of the Sexual Harassment Act. Then we talked about hostile work environment and quid pro quo. So what is it? So if we talk about the hostile work environment, then this is a kind of creation of abusive environment, unreasonable interferences, gender-based unwanted activity. Like the person is not comfortable in the environment because you have made it hostile for that particular person with a intention, because she has not accepted whatever the other person wanted or the boss wanted or the higher employee wanted. So now he is creating a kind of hostile work environment for her. Then quid pro quo means that something in return of other thing. So workplace benefit promised and given to or withheld from the harasser in exchange for sexual activity by the harasser. Like if she accepts your advances, then she is given a benefit of promotion. And if she does not accept the advances, then she is withheld or demoted or something like this. So this is quid pro quo. Then how a woman can prevent or deal with sexual harassment? It's not that every time you need to file a complaint and you need the intervention of the IC, because some things you can do as a preventive measures, because you know prevention is always better than cure. So if you follow some things, maybe you'll more likely not to get into such situation of sexual harassment. The first thing is that learn to say no clearly. If someone is making such advances towards you or asking something, the sexual favors, then you should be confident enough to deny clearly. You should say no clearly. Then if once it has happened or something, the process is going on, then you should document what happened, because when you file a complaint, the more properly documented description of that whatever has happened, how it has happened, the different steps, that makes your side strong. So document whatever happened very nicely. Then review your personal file and involve friends in union. If there is any kind of union in your organization or you have close friends, you can share this to them and you can seek their support. Maybe you will not be you need not to go to the IC. Maybe your problem is solved, maybe solved by your friends and union support only. And if this does not happen, then you have to report the harassment and of course file a lawsuit or file a complaint with the IC. Use the grievance procedure at the work. Whatever policy, posh policy you have in your organization, then we have to make sure that we file the complaint according to that. Then file a discrimination complaint with government agency. Now, what is workplace? We should know that what kind of places are covered in this POSH Act, because we are saying that prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. So we should know what kind of places are defined as workplace. So if you talk of organized sector, then any department, organization, undertaking, establishment, enterprise, institution, office, branch or unit in the public sector, either established, owned or controlled, or wholly or partial financed by funds received directly or indirectly by the government or local authority or a non-government company or corporation or a cooperative society. All these defines a kind of organized workplace. Any private sector organization or a private venture, undertaking, enterprise, institution, establishment, society, trust, non-governmental organization, unit, or service provider carrying on commercial, professional, vocational, educational, environmental, industrial, health services, or financial activities, including production, supply, sale, distribution, or services. So all these kind of organization, all these kind of agencies come under the organized sector of workplace. Then hospitals or nursing homes, any sports institutes, stadiums, sports complex, or competition or games venue, even the residence if used for training, sports or other related activities, it would be defined as workplace, and that POSH Act would be applied here also. Any place visited by the employee arising out of or during the course of employment, including transportation provided by the employer for undertaking such journey. So this point is very important, because it's not only that when you are in office the POSH Act is applying, but if you are in transportation also, if you are while transportation also, you are covered by the POSH Act. A dwelling place or house is also a workplace. Then if we talk about the unorganized sector, an enterprise owned by individuals or self-employed workers engaged in the production of goods, engaged in the sale of goods, providing service of any kind whatsoever, where the enterprise employs workers and the number of such workers is less than 10, then also it's defined as a workplace. Now there are some duties of the employers which they have to fulfill under the section 19 of the act. So whenever we like train the any organization, then we have to cover the employer, we have to keep in mind the employer, the staff and the IC committee. So the duties of employer under section 19 of the act is to provide a safe working environment at the workplace. The penal consequences of sexual harassment should be displayed at any conspicuous spot at the workplace. Sensitize the employees with the provisions of the act by organizing workshops and awareness programs and orientation programs for the members of the internal committee. It's the duty of the employer to have awareness programs at different intervals to sensitize their staff and their internal complaint committee members. So facilitate the internal committee or the local committee. Local committee comes into a picture when there is not an internal committee because the number of employees are less than 10. Then the local committee comes into picture for dealing with the complaint and conducting an inquiry. Provide assistance in securing attendance of the respondent and witness before the IC. So this is also an employer's duty to help in the inquiry process. Make available such information to IC as may be required with the regard to the complaint. Provide assistance to the aggrieved woman. This is also one important part during the inquiry, because if the aggrieved woman is not feeling comfortable or she is very scared, then she can be transferred to some other place or can be given leave for that time period when the inquiry is going on, and this is a paid leave. Help to initiate action against the perpetrator where the perpetrator is not an employee in the workplace at which the incident took place, and monitor timely submission of reports by the internal committee. So these were the duties of the employer, and we should know these duties of the employer, because then only we can tell them if they are not fulfilling these duties. Then comes the internal complaints committee and local complaints committee. As I said, if the employees are 10 or more than 10, then an internal complaints committee is mandatorily to be formed there. And if the number of staff or employees are less than 10, then local complaints committee does the work of investigation of any complaint filed. So section 4 of the Prevention and Prohibition of Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act provides the constitution of the Internal Complaints Committee, and sometimes it's also called as IC, either ICC or IC. Any organization that has 10 or more employees need to constitute ICC. Then ICC shall have odd number of members. This is because if you'll have even number of members, then there are chances that you can have a tie while you are deciding something. But in case of odd number of members, of course, there would be majority of one opinion over the other. And ICC shall have minimum of 5 members, out of which the presiding officer should be the senior most women officer of the organization. Then 50% of the nominated members of the ICC should be women. And the external member of this IC should be from an NGO or an organization committed to the cause of the women. It's very important that the external member whom you are selecting to be a part of your ICC should already be having some kind of knowledge about these women issues. Then composition, if we talk about the composition or structure of the ICC, Then it has one presiding officer, the senior most women employee in the workplace. Not less than 3 members from amongst the employees preferably committed to the cause of women or who have had experience in social work or have legal knowledge. Then one external member from amongst NGOs or associations committed to the cause of women or a person familiar with the issues relating to sexual harassment. At least one half of the total members so nominated shall be women. This has to be kept into mind when you are composing the ICC. Now this is about the composition of the local complaints committee.
Ma'am, excuse me, Aditi ma'am,
Yeah,
excuse me.
yeah, sure.
In the beginning, you have spoken about some verdict of some lady's name.
Sorry.
In the beginning,
Yeah.
आपने एक verdict का बारे में बताया, some effect with
Okay,
some
the
lady's
Vishakha
name.
versus Rajasthan state.
Yeah, Vishakha effect. What is that?
That's about a women. It's a case of women called Bhavri Devi. She was gang
We
raped.
will be taking questions in the end. Let her complete with what she has started.
Okay,
So we
okay,
don't want to
yes.
break the
Thank you.
flow. You can put the questions on the chat. We'll take all the questions in the end. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Aditi, you can continue.
Yeah, so this is about the composition of local complaints committees. Where we don't have an ICC, then we have to file the complaint with LCC. So every district officer shall constitute in the district concerned committee to be known as local complaints committee to receive complaints of sexual harassment from establishments where the then I think this it's about to end the meeting.
You have about 8 minutes. It might end after that, but then you can come back on the same. Is it more than 2-3 slides more?
No, just 2 slides, but
Yeah,
I'm having this message on the screen.
Yeah, what we can do is participants, once this logs off, you can log in again on the same. There has been some hitch. I think we've got into the other free one. So that's
Can this
fine. You can continue. You can try and finish within that period if you can, Aditi. Otherwise, we'll come back and continue.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Just that this message is not going from my screen. That's the problem.
That's okay. It's gone. It's gone. Don't worry. Let it be there on the top. You can continue. Yeah, we can see the structure of.
So the structure of local complaints committees, there's one chairperson who is nominated from against the eminent women in the field of social work and committed to the cause. And it's a woman member nominated from against the women working in the district. Then there are 2 members from such your associations who are working for the cause of the women and are familiar with the issues related to sexual harassment, provided that at least one must be a woman out of these 2 members and at least one must have a background of law or legal knowledge. Then one ex officio or external member is there who is the concerned officer dealing with the social welfare or women and child development in the district. Then the kind of punishments to be awarded under the act, actually they differ as per the kind of a severity of the action or the complaint. But usually, like as prescribed under the service rules, the punishments are awarded. But in case service rules do not exist, then these are some kind of punishments that can be given, like disciplinary action including written apology, reprimand, warning, censure, withholding the promotion or pay, raise or increment, then termination of services, undergoing counseling, community services, then deduction of salary. Monetary punishment can also be given, like deduction of salary in case of like mental trauma, pain, suffering and emotional distress caused, medical expenses incurred to the women, to the aggrieved women, the loss of career opportunity, the income and financial status of the respondent, and if this amount is not paid, it can be recovered as arrear from his whatever money is with the government. So this is all from my side. then we can log off and log in, and if we have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Aditi. Dr. Aditi, it was very, very, very knowledgeable. Let's just take some questions. Participants, we just will be having an interactive session now. So what we'll do is anything which is there in your mind, which you, while she was presenting, if you have any questions, what we can quickly do is log off and click on the same link and come back. Then we'll just initiate some questions, whether it's a simple question or it's a complicated one, any situation, how POSH happens in workplace or in open space, we can take some questions. I'm sure Dr. Aditi will try and help you on that. Otherwise, I'll be there to assist her. Yeah, so we can quickly log off and log in, if that can help.
Ma'am, 1 minute, ma'am. Aditi, ma'am.
Yeah.
I have seen that you are from Rajaji Tiger Reserve.
Yes, I am.
From Rajaji, it is from where? Which place?
This is Dehradun in Uttarakhand state.
Dehradun.
Yeah, Dehradun city from Uttarakhand state.
Okay. So if I go there, I can expect some help from you.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yes, Dibendu
Okay,
sir,
thank
we'll
you.
have those personal talk after we finish the session. ठीक है? अभी हम लोग log off करके log on करते हैं, फिर आप बातें करें. सब मैडम इधर ही हैं, डॉक्टर अदिति. Quickly log off and log in. ठीक है?